There's a subreddit called Malicious Compliance that I thought was actually quite interesting. I'm going to go through a few stories, see what we get, okay? If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. It goes both ways. My new manager at work is one of those people that absolutely has to be in control. Have you ever had one of those managers? I mean, I like hands-off managers. If I get a micromanaging boss, I'm miserable. If they're going to tell me what to do with my PhD, and they usually have much less education than I do, it's just not worth me spending a whole lot of time with them. I get very frustrated after a while. Even when you're exceeding every scorecard measure, keeping your head down, not putting a toe out of line, she still asks you to come into a meeting room to discuss some minor issue or another. Oh gosh, I had this situation happen once. Recently, she pulled me in a meeting to discuss me being late from work. Oh boy. Late to work. He meets all his obligations, but he was late. Okay, protocol is to call in, say, we'll be late, then submit a schedule adjustment request when we arrive. She accused me of not calling in or submitting a request, but was able to prove I did. Instead of leaving it at that, she insisted I now need to call her and explain why I was late. That's not the process, I told her, and she said she was making a new one. Okay, so now I call her at 6 a.m. on her day off to let her know if I'm going to be late. I'll bet that plays really well. Following an incident where she was asked to follow up on something for me and claimed, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. I've been asking for everything in writing and repeat that mantra back to her when she claims to have told me something. Oh boy, there's a little tit for tat. What's happened here is that the relationship has devolved into something that is very unhealthy, okay? Obviously, this was a high-performing employee. New manager comes in, doesn't know the employee, and treats him like he's a new kid out of college. That doesn't play well with a seasoned employee, and I can speak from experience on that. It just doesn't play well with me, especially. So, let's see how far this thing goes. Last week, she asked me to see her after my call. I walked over, and she wasn't there. I went back to my desk. She asked me why I didn't stay around, and I reminded her of the time she put in writing that I wasn't to spend more than 1 minute waiting for her if she asked to see me, and was to go back to my desk to take calls, not wasting time. So she put in writing that when she called him, he was only to spend 1 minute waiting and then go back to his desk. Okay. But she wasn't there, and then asked why he didn't stick around. Okay, interesting. She asked me to come over again, and when I did, she wasn't there. This repeated twice more before my shift was over. Each time I documented, logged out at 14:35 p.m., came to your desk, you were not there, spent 45 seconds waiting, returned to desk, took another call at 4:38 p.m. in chat. Oh boy. She messages me back to ask what time I finish. I tell her it was 2 minutes prior, and she says we can catch up now. I tell her that my shift is over and ask if she'll approve an overtime pay for an out-of-hours meeting. She tells me not to be silly, and it'll take just 10 minutes. I refuse and say, if I don't get paid, we can do it tomorrow when I'm being paid. Wow, this has really devolved into tit for tat. This is not good. I know she's angry at being challenged, and she decided to employ one of the tactics she used when she managed a team for a company where this was a standard practice. Okay, well, if you'd like to go home now, I can always make it a formal meeting. A formal meeting where I work is code word for with meeting with HR, documented on your record for misconduct and repeated issues. Oh boy. She thinks she's won. Not a problem. Make a formal meeting. Ensure I have 24 hours notice. Send a formal invite, and I will bring a support person with me. I log out and leave, but not before grabbing screenshots and saving a copy of the chat logs. Next day, she's called my bluff and has a meeting scheduled. I send it to my union rep, and she comes in on the day. HR sits down with us and opens with, "So we're here today to discuss some concerns. Your team leader asked you to attend an off-the-cuff catch-up 3 times, and for some reason you refused?" Well, that's not the way he told the story to us anyway, so let's see. I quickly clarify that what actually happened. My manager claims otherwise, and I repeat her mantra. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Then I supply receipts, her demands to put things in writings, her chat, my timestamps, my call logs, and her message to me afterwards. My union rep stares at the two of them with a small smile and asks, "So do you maintain the position that employees should attend meetings unpaid and that misconduct investigations are a good use of resources if they refuse?" HR said there may have been a miscommunication and that I could return to work. I have to put in writing that I am not accused of any misconduct and have been cleared of any false accusations, with nothing documented in my staff file. Yesterday, my team was advised that our team leader had decided to pursue opportunities outside of the company, and we were getting a new manager. Well, there's a win for the employee. Wow, that would have been painful. I mean, no employee wants to go to work and feel like they're untrusted and feel like they're being, manipulated, especially if he was a union person. Managers have to be a lot more careful than this. They have to be a lot more, able to work around things and work with things. This person just, wow, they rubbed each other wrong from the very beginning, and it just kept on getting worse. That was quite a bizarre story. Yeah, really, really bizarre. Well, let's see if we have another one here. Okay. My manager has problems with clock watchers. Well, do you ever watch the clock at the end of your shift? Sometimes I do. I mean, sometimes I've got places to go, people to see, things to do, things that I want to get done. Sometimes I'm just doing something really, really boring at work, and the clock is just ticking really, really slow. Well, let's see what this person says. He says, "In my last job, when I started, I would log in as soon as I got there, and if I had anything to finish up, I would do it before I left. I didn't mind, as I'm a team player. This resulted in me doing 20 to 30 minutes a day unpaid, but I liked the company, and I liked a clear desk." Okay, that doesn't sound too unreasonable. Fast forward 2 years, and my father-in-law was terminally ill. We got a call from the hospital telling us we had to get there as soon as possible, as he didn't have long left. I told my manager and left at 3:45. Core hours were 10 to 4. The next month, my pay was docked a half of a day. Wow. Docked a half day for leaving 15 minutes early. Wow, that's pretty bizarre. I had already made 2 hours extra unpaid that week, but they told me that they couldn't make exceptions, and the extra I did was my own decision. Well, you can see where this is probably heading. I haven't read the next page, but let's see. All righty then. Okay, I came in on the dot, left on the dot. I did this for 5 years. That's what you call an employee who's hurt inside. An employee at that point becomes, "I'll do exactly what you tell me, and only what you tell me, and only the time that you tell me, and he loses totally loses all empowerment and all trust that he had built up with the company. He says, I worked to the letter of my contracted hours. My manager was talking to a new starter, and in my earshot, she told him she hated clock watchers who left on the dot, as this doesn't show company loyalty. I leaned over and replied, loyalty works both ways. So I show the company the same level of compassion they showed me. After all, rules are rules, and exceptions cannot be made. The new starter started on the dot and left on the dot, as did the whole staff. Obviously, this was an infection. Obviously, this was a situation where other people got to the point of saying, no, we're not giving this company anything more than just what they ask us to give, and nothing more. No empowerment, no trust, micromanagers all the way. This is a symptom that exists in a lot of companies that just can't seem to get in line with trusting their employees or working together, or you can keep filling in the blanks there. It says, I dread to think how many hours they lost over the whole department over the next few years. That is pretty awful. But, it just goes to show that empowerment and trusting your employees pays benefits on the backside. You can't treat employees or abuse employees like that without suffering some sort of consequence, and the employees basically towing the mark and doing exactly what you tell them to do. Because a lot of times they'll give you a whole lot more if you trust them. So appreciate the time that we've spent. Hope you've enjoyed these stories, and I hope that you can join us again sometime for another video. Thanks.